And welcome to the February 10th, 2025 City of Farmington Hills Council meeting. We are putting our regular session in order. And our first item of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. And our Pledge of Allegiance is going to be led by Avery Hill, who is about to also receive recognition. Please come up.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Hill.
Oh, it is making a mess. I'm leaking oil or something.
And roll call, please.
Council members Aldred.
Here.
Olaware. Here. Bridges.
Here.
Bruce.
Here.
Dwyer.
Here.
Noel. Here. And Mayor Rich.
I'm here.
Thank you.
And item 1, approval of the regular session meeting agenda. Is there a motion?
Madam Mayor, I move the council approve the published agenda for tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Bridges. There's a motion. Is there support?
Support.
We have a motion and support. This is a regular vote. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. And our item 2, proclamation recognizing February 6th, 2025 as Optimist Day, which will be read by our Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas Optimist International is a worldwide organization of people committed to optimism and self-development for the improvement of youth and community. And whereas Optimist Day is recognized and celebrated annually on the first Thursday of February to recognize local optimist organizations celebrating their contributions to the community and encouraging citizens to do something that brings out optimism in themselves or others. And whereas the Optimist Club of Farmington and Farmington Hills has been a vital part of the community for more than 40 years. And whereas this voluntary organization of civic-minded men and women is dedicated to the community service, making a difference in the lives of others and working with young people to help them reach their potential to make their dreams come true. And whereas the membership of the Optimist Club of Farmington and Farmington Hills is composed of individuals from business, industry, government, and other professions who use their talent and skills to contribute to the community in which they and their families draw daily benefits. And whereas there are 2,500 Optimist clubs in Optimist International, where more than 70,000 members worldwide who are contributing to their respective communities and encouraging a greater exchange of ideas between young people and adults. Now, therefore, I, Teresa Rich, Mayor of the City of Farmington Hills, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby recognize the Optimist Club of Farmington and Farmington Hills and call upon our citizens, public and private institutions, businesses, and schools to thank the local Optimist Club and honor their vital organization that is committed to the improvement of youth and the community. And who is receiving the Optimist Club Award tonight?
We'll have it delivered.
Wait, we have someone.
Very good.
Hello, please come up.
Let me just point out, I'm honored to do this tonight. I've been an optimist since 1985, 40 years, so I've been around.
Club member on this council as well.
Congratulations. Would you like to say a few words and introduce yourself?
I am Don Munter. I am president.
Could you go to the microphone, please, so that the city can hear you? Thank you. Go ahead, you could go up.
You go up with him.
Absolutely.
Picture of him at the podium.
I am Don Munter. I am a resident of your sister city. I thank you for this. I am the president of the club for this year. We have 50 members. As it was said in the proclamation, we have almost 70,000 members worldwide. We are the largest organization in the world strictly devoted to improving the lives of children. That is a very broad statement. And each club, there are 80 clubs in Michigan, 2,400 members in Michigan. We are the largest district in the entire organization. And each club does their own thing. And we have been very active, and all these people who are not members, it's very worthwhile, as I'm sure Councilman Dwyer and Councilman Bruce will verify that. We do a lot of things in the community to help the children. Thank you.
So, Mr. Munter, would you like to come down and do a photo with council, and maybe Mayor Pro Tem and Dr. Bruce would join you? And then the rest of us behind?
Thanks, Paul.
You might as well. If you're optimists, go ahead. Of course.
Top and bottom, or?
Staggered,
Yeah,
put the women every other one. Guy, girl, guy,
there we
girl.
go.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, here we go. Here we go.
All righty, thank you very much.
I am all over this. I don't need any more pictures.
Thank you for your work, sir.
Congratulations. Thanks for everything you do.
They are. And they're good on the slop.
Continuing on the happy part of the agenda, we have a proclamation honoring Avery Hill, who is Miss Michigan Collegiate America 2025, and this will be read by Mr. Bridges.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Proclamation recognizing Avery Hill, Miss Michigan Collegiate America 2025, February 10th, 2025. Whereas the Miss Collegiate American pageant provides a personal, professional opportunity for women enrolled in a university, trade school, or continuing education program, allowing them to compete in a pageant with high moral values, grow leadership skills, earn scholarship, and more. Whereas Avery Hill, a longtime resident of the city of Farmington Hills, was crowned Miss Michigan Collegiate America 2025 at the state pageant in Dearborn, Michigan in January 2025, bringing pride to the Farmington Hills community. And whereas Avery, an alumna of Farmington Public Schools and a first-year student in the culinary arts program at Schoolcraft College, has demonstrated exceptional dedication to her education and her community. Whereas Avery plans to use her platform to advocate for greater awareness of BRAVE, BRAVE, building respect and values for everyone, the official national platform and anti-bullying campaign for Miss Junior High, High School, and Collegiate American organization, which promotes building respect and values through presentation to school-aged children and their parents to create awareness and promote a bully-free and safe environment. Whereas Avery exemplifies courage and resilience by working to raise awareness for Tourette syndrome, a nervous system condition with which she was diagnosed during her freshman year of high school. Whereas Avery represents the Farmington Hills community in Little Rock, Arkansas, where she competes in the National Miss Collegiate America pageant. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Teresa Rich, the mayor of the city of Farmington Hills, on behalf of the city council, do hereby honor Avery Hill for embodying the joy, optimism, and resilience that are characteristics of the Farmington Hills community, and wish her luck at the National Miss Collegiate America pageant and in all her future endeavors. Avery?
Would you like to say a few words? Mom, do you want to go get a picture? Okay.
I just want to say thank you to everybody up here for awarding me with this proclamation. I, again, was a former Miss Michigan Teen USA, and I just continue to thank the entire city of Farmington Hills for supporting me through all of the journeys I continue to go to. I'm excited to continue my education at Schoolcraft College, hopefully to become a chef one day, and thank you again.
Thank you. Would you like to do a picture with council? Have it as part of your book? Come on in.
No, wait, we have to trade. Guy, girl,
Okay, there we go.
something like
Glad
that.
you ordered.
Okay, now for the city. Thank you.
Is there a big bean on it? Country people.
You know, we all of us get the opportunity to spend time in our schools and with our students and seeing Avery here, and sometimes we have scouts, and you just make us so hopeful for our future. Thank you. And we have one more proclamation. This is recognizing February 2025 as Black History Month.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Whereas the City of Farmington Hills takes pride in recognizing February 2025 as Black History Month, celebrating the many notable contributions that African Americans have made to our community, our country, and our world. And whereas we applaud the vast cultural, economic, political, and social contributions made by our African ancestry who helped build this great nation, and we honor their valuable contributions to professional fields, including education, law, government, science, business, sports, and the arts, and their brave service in the United States Armed Forces. And whereas we embrace the multicultural diversity of people of color in Farmington Hills and express gratitude for how their influence enriches the history and culture of our city to unite and sustain us as a community. And whereas we uplift the African American community leaders, business owners, and professionals, and promote the Black community as part of the rich tapestry of our whole inclusive Farmington Hills community. And whereas we join others in recognizing and rooting out systemic racism, health, and wealth disparities, and other inequities in our community, so that all Black people and other people of color feel welcomed, valued, and celebrated. Now, therefore, I, Teresa Rich, Mayor of the City of Farmington Hills, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim February 2025 as Black History Month in Farmington Hills, and call upon our citizens, public and private institutions, businesses, and schools to honor the history and achievements of Black Americans and reflect upon efforts needed to create a world that is more just, equitable, and prosperous for all people.
Thank you. And this is going to be accepted by local residents and business owners, Teresa and Darwin Walker, who are the owners of the 1111 The Bank facility, event studio. So if the two of you would come up and accept the proclamation and maybe say a couple words. And what's been really fabulous about the Walkers is as soon as they became part of our Farmington Hills business community, one of the first things they did was jump in and help sponsor work with the Education Foundation for Farmington Public Schools. And you've been just such tremendous citizens and business citizens and residents for us. So thank you so much for being here tonight to accept.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us. And, you know, it's such a great opportunity for us to be here in front of you, Mayor, in front of the City Council, to accept this. We know that with this being Black History Month, there's been so many people that have made sacrifices for us to be here, and we don't take that lightly. We don't really talk a lot, but to us, it's about showing an example of what not only a Black business should be, but good business should be. And we're going to continue to be that example to our community and to the people that support us and to the city of Farmington Hills. And if anyone wants to celebrate an event or have a special moment coming, look us up, 1111 Event Studio. We'd be happy to have you, and we'll have your dream event. So thank you for having us. Good.
I just wanted to mention, thank you, that we're on 12 Mile and Middlebelt, right on the corner. So we hope to see you there. Thank you.
And they're one of the few event spaces where you can actually bring your own food. So why don't you come up and do a photo, please? Thank you. Same positions? We have our positions now? Same. All right. Thank you. And this is the section now where we go into announcements and presentations from city boards, commissions, and public officials. And tonight, we are going to receive a report from the Farmington Area Commission on Aging. Some of you will remember back in the fall, City Council had a study session at the Caustic Center and heard from quite a few residents who gave their point of view that they wanted to be able to share more deeply their thoughts and concerns with council. And that is one of the roles of our various commissions, is to actually be our interface with the community. And so we thank our members of the Commission on Aging who are going to come here tonight. They did 2 focus groups in December, and tonight you're going to share. So please come forward. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us. My name is Dr. Catherine Marshall, and I am accompanied by Jolie Villiani. We are commissioners for the Commission on Aging. The first thing I'd like to do is to welcome Mr. Dwyer back as Mayor Pro Tem. It's good to see you. And then I'll get right to our presentation. The document is online on the city site, and I'm sure council members have copies of it. I'm not going to go through all of it, but I am going to highlight the importance of some of the things that happened at those listening sessions and what happens at the Caustic Center. The listening sessions were requested by the residents participating in activities at the Caustic Center. They were solely involved with the Commission on Aging. The council was not a part of that, or any, and I know there's misinformation out there, it's in print. So I just want to make sure that this is something solely from the participants at the Caustic Center and the Commission on Aging as we act as advocates for the older adults in our community. We had 113 attendees come to 2 listening sessions on December 3rd. It was good attendance because it was late notice and it was in the middle of the day.
It was 113 in the morning and another 100 and something in.
Oh, is that what?
Yeah.
Total,
at the
okay.
2 o'clock or the 1 o'clock one. So it
Okay.
was over 200 people.
Over 200 people. 83% of those individuals use the Caustic Center more than 3 times a week. So it's very well attended. People have structured their lives and their retirement around their activities and their socialization there. Some of the concerns that were voiced in that listening session, or in those 2 listening sessions, were the potential for the Caustic Center to be eliminated and moved to the Hawk. That was not received favorably. People do not feel, or residents that are using the Caustic Center do not feel that that's an acceptable reason. And some of the things that they brought up were the fact that 12 Mile and Orchard Lake Road is a very difficult traffic area. And you have older folks navigating that area to get into their community space. That's not a good idea. There is also a lack of parking at the Hawk, and it gets to be very, very busy during the summer when there are summer programs with kids. And then we've got 5- and 6-year-olds running through handicap spaces to get to the doors or get to their parents, and older folks who have slower reaction time at the wheel. I don't think we want to have that in the paper, because that's an accident waiting to happen. So those were 2 major issues. They also talked about the pool. These people have gone to the Hawk and seen what's there. Some of them participate actively at the Hawk and the Caustic Center, and they think the pool is too small. It's cold, it's too small, It doesn't facilitate the exercise classes that we have at the Caustic Center. Despite the fact that that pool is falling apart, it's not, the one at the Hawk would not replace it in any way. Let's see here. The other consideration is that our older population is on a fixed income. Most of them are. And the cost to participate in things at the Hawk are much more expensive than if you go to the Caustic Center, where it's subsidized. There are many things to leave to be desired about the Caustic Center, and they also spoke about those considerations. For example, the gym needs to be bigger. We need bigger spaces. The programs have outgrown, and many classes are closed before the flyer even comes out announcing them. That's how much participation you have. We had a volunteer there who talked about the Caustic Center, and to quote her, she said, "We have a great Meals on Wheels program with hot meals being delivered 5 days a week. I've been a volunteer driver for a few years, and I don't want to see this service diminished to a facility that can't handle food prep. And we need a bigger kitchen at the Caustic Center now. But moving to, and they're thinking about the Hawk, which has been widely discussed, moving to the Hawk would not provide that." She said, "Other cities don't have a program like this. And there are many people served, many people that are shut in that can't get there, that are served by this." Bigger and better locker rooms, safer locker rooms, where there are chairs for older people to change. Another attendee said, "Exercise and community are so important. For seniors, it is literally the difference between life and death. I always say it's a difference between living and gracefully aging." Final comments from some of the individuals there are around the communities in the area that are actually building new senior centers, Livonia, Madison Heights. And the comment passed by one of the attendees was, "Let's not go backwards. The needs of Farmington Hills is greater than ever. So please fix or maintain our beloved Caustic Center." So folks are very devoted to that. That was very clear to us. Now, I know we've hired consultants to look at this. I think that's fine. That's the norm these days, hire a consultant. But again, I am going to plead with each and every one of you from the council, anyone in this room, to come to the Caustic Center, experience it, know what you're making your decisions about. You are charged with making a very important decision about what kinds of things are going to be allocated to probably the largest population we have. We want you to be informed because your decision will affect many people for many years. The whole issue of fiscal responsibility has a lot to do with forward thinking, and we can't ignore the research and the data of our population aging. We, the voters, and the commissioners are here to support and educate the council, because this will be your decision. We would like to see this done in a thoughtful way. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from council? Yes, Mr. Bridges.
I just wanted to say that the council is quite aware and very much in tune as to what your concerns are, and your briefing session, listening session was going to be very helpful to council as well. And yeah, our population in Farmington Hills, elderly population is growing in Farmington Hills. I think SIMCOG projected out that there'll be more people age 80, 85 in the next 5 to 10 years. So Farmington Hills is one of those communities where people want to stay here. They don't want to move to Florida. Some of them do, but a lot of them want to stay right here.
Like tomorrow.
But I want to assure you, the council is quite aware of what the needs are regarding the community, regarding the elderly population, but we have a tough decision to be made. And we got a research firm right now looking at all the data in regards to your listening sessions. It's going to be very helpful to council as well. But, you know, we're going to make a decision, I think that that looks at all the facts, and we've got to focus not only on fiscal, but also quality as well. Quality of life is important too. So sometimes you need to, one, to have a much more higher, say, of level of influence than the other, but fiscal has to be a top priority as well. At the same time, enhancing the quality of life for our seniors too is also important. So it's a nice balance there we have to look at. So thank you for your presentation. I am the council liaison to the Aging Commission, and I've kept the council informed regarding this listening session, and I'm glad that the city did respond to the need for a listening session. I was there about 3 months ago, and there was a strong interest in having listening sessions, and I talked to the city manager and administration, and they responded to it. And they also was a consultants present also with your sessions as well?
No, and no, there weren't any council people
I said
at that session.
consultants, not the.
Neither,
Okay.
neither.
But I'm sure the consultants got your feedback. I'm sure of that.
I don't know, I think he's just come on board.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping to have a fair amount of interaction with him. But again, I can't impress upon you that this is your decision.
Yeah.
And I want you to experience what our older folks are dealing with and how important that environment is to them. You can't appreciate it and make an educated, thoughtful decision unless you know what you're looking at. And that's what we need. And I know they've asked for the council to come because they haven't had an opportunity to speak with you. So I invite you back as a council and as individual members to participate anytime.
Yeah, I'm sure the city manager is going to look for additional ways for integration of the listening session as well as interaction between the consultant and the residents as well. So we're going to do what we can to make sure that we get all the information as possible and make sure it's integrated.
Yep.
But again, it's going to be a decision based on fiscal as well as quality of life for our residents in Farmington Hills. And that's where I'm at. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Bruce?
When is your next meeting, or when can we show up in
Well,
terms of?
we have Commission on Aging meetings
The
last Tuesday of every month, or of each month.
Okay.
And this one will be actually in Farmington. So,
at the City Hall,
yeah, we kind of divide them up because.
5:30.
Yep.
5:30 on February 25th.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank
And
you.
we've been told that the council, the guy doing the report.
Consultant.
Thank you, I keep locking on that word today.
That's okay.
He's supposed to be there, senior moments, right?
Right.
He's supposed to be there too, to speak to us.
Okay, great.
You know, the Caustic Center is expensive, but the Hawk is
It's not an option.
that,
It wasn't ever planned to be something that could be accessed by wheelchairs, walkers, things like that. I mean, we could have 100 details, but that's why we provided you with this document, and I hope that you give it serious consideration and reach out to us and come visit us.
Yeah, and I'm very familiar with the Caustic Center. I've been going there since the mid-90s. I've lived here almost 40
Mm-hmm.
years. So that Caustic Center is just deteriorated to the point where it's
It is.
really not able to be maintained in a cost-efficient way. And I understand the Hawk is not a really good option either. So I think what's probably going to have to happen, in my opinion, and I may be speaking out of turn here, but I think eventually we're going to have to build a new Caustic Center or a new senior center. And whether that's right in front or some other location, I think for me, I don't need consultants to tell me what is going to be best in terms of for that center and for what we need to do. I mean, it's just, I think the consultants have gone on too long. I've complained about that in the past. I think that the real only solution is to do something like that. Bond it out for 20 years. It'll last 50, 60, 70 years as a facility. And we have a very low amount of debt. We can afford to do something like that. In my opinion, that's just my opinion, not the entire council. But I think that would solve a lot of problems.
it's the opinion of just about every senior we've talked to.
Thank you, Mr. Bruce. I appreciate that, and I hope to hear similar sentiments from each of you, because it is very important. And the one thing that will happen, I can guarantee you, if you're lucky, that's if you're lucky, you will all get older. And you're really going to appreciate someplace like the Caustic Center to go. You really will.
Anyone else on council have something they wanted to say?
I
Yes,
will let
Ms.
her know,
Mulloway.
I'm already there. Okay. And I do have my water aerobics card. So I'll see whoever's in water aerobics, I'll see them.
Great.
Yep.
We love to have you.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I see a number of folks I saw at line dancing a couple of weeks ago. I come out there on the regular, as you know, at least once a month and hang out and do some sort of class that humbles me and have lunch with you. So yeah, we get there from time to time. So know that first off, we appreciate the commission doing the work to be the liaison between us and some of our senior residents, but we get involved with y'all too. So thank you very much, and we appreciate the report.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is correspondence. Any council members have correspondence they would like to share? Okay, that then takes us to the consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda are considered routine, administrative, or non-controversial by the city council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or citizen so requests, in which event the item may be removed from the consent agenda for consideration. These will be read by the Mayor Pro Tem, Mr. Dwyer.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 10, recommended approval of a proposed interlocal agreement between Oakland County and the City of Farmington Hills for Michigan Indigent Defense Council Standard 7 Review and Qualification Requirements, CMR 2-25-14. Item 11, recommended approval of amendment to the employment agreement for the city clerk. Item 12, recommend approval of the renewal of license agreement with Oakland County for early voting at the Costic Activity Center. Item 13, recommended approval of a request for employment under Section 10.01A of the City Charter for 2 lifeguards, CMR-25-515 and C-M-R 2-5-16. Item 14, recommend approval of a request for the employment under Section 10.01A of the City Charter for a hawk nest leader, CMR 22517. Item 15, recommended approval of a request for employment under Section 10.1A of the City Charter for an archery instructor, CMR 22518. Item 16, recommended approval of a request for employment under Section 10.01A of the City Charter for a building assistant, CMR 22519. Item 17, acknowledgement of a second quarter financial summary and quarter investment report. Item 18, recommended approval of an award of a consulting service for mission, vision, and value statement for strategic planning to Rattelli's Financial Consultants, Inc., in the amount of $57,225, CMR 22520. Item 19, recommended approval of award of a bid for golf club tables and chairs to Con Service Flag Company in the amount of $34,253.90, CMR 2-25-21. Item 20, recommend approval of an award of contract for Kendallwood Subdivision number 2 and number 4 water main replacement project to the Bingard Contractors, Inc., in the amount of $5,483,835, CMR 2-25-22. Item 21, recommend approval of award of bid for audio and visual theater technology services to Pro Audio and Lighting in the estimated amount of $20,000 for a 6-month period with the option of approval renewal, CMR 2-25-23. Item 22, recommend approval of City Council Goal Study Sessions minute meetings of January 11, 2025. Item 23, recommend approval of City Council Study Session meetings of January 13, 2025. Item 24, recommend approval of City Council regular session meeting minutes of January 13, 2025. And finally, item 25, recommend approval of the City Council Special Joint Study Session meeting minutes of January 27, 2025. That's it, Mayor.
Okay, and Dr. Bruce, you had a question.
Yeah, I just have a couple of questions for the city manager on two of the items. I don't think we have to pull them, but I just want to try to understand what a couple of these are about. Number 18, the recommended approval of, well, first let me, with that one, the 57,000 for a mission, vision, and value statement. 57,000 for a mission statement? Am I reading that correct?
So thank you for the question, Councilmember Bruce. This was one of council's goals from last year, if you recall, to establish mission, vision, and goals for not just city council, but the entire organization, and to update that, refresh that. So it's the whole enchilada. Okay. It's developing those goals, it's developing that mission statement, just the mission statement, but mission, visions, values, goals for the entire organization. And then, drive that down into the organization. And then, of course, one of the things we talked about, and we're working with it with special services as well, is, that's building that strategic plan from the ground up for the departments that plug into that overarching strategic plan for the city.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, that makes sense. Then item number 21, I've read your background on that item for the audiovisual theater technology for the 20,000 for 6 months. And it seems like this is because we lost staff, that we're not maybe happy with not having full-time employment. Was that correct? Or did I misread that? Or we're losing staff, so we have to backfill with external people to do that?
That's correct. And so there are some regulatory and legislative constraints as it relates to part-time employment for the city. I think Ellen did a really good job, our special services director, laying that out in the city manager's report. And because we've had problems attracting part-time employees for managing that particular part of the operation, the opportunity here to contract that out for a 6-month period is being presented tonight.
So do you think that we'll eventually have somebody in that role, that we won't have to utilize an outside company, or we're going to stick with that?
Yeah, we're actively pursuing that part-time position.
Okay.
It's posted.
So it is just a part-time position?
It's just a part-time position.
Okay. All right, thank you.
With that, do we have a motion, please?
Madam Mayor, I move that the council approve the consent agenda items as read by Mayor Pro Tem, Mr. Dwyer.
Support.
We have motion and support. This is a roll call vote.
Council members Bolaware?
Yes.
Bridges?
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes.
Dwyer?
Yes.
Noel? Yes. Aldred?
Yes.
Mayor Rich?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And this then takes us to council member comments and announcements. Mr. Aldred.
Trying to make the residents aware of the Citizens Police Academy that's coming up starting April 1st. It's an excellent opportunity to spend 10 weeks. It's every week, every Tuesday for 10 weeks, where you get to learn from the police departments, different aspects of of law enforcement. And I think everyone on council's been on it. It's an excellent opportunity to really understand what our law enforcement, public safety do every day, and really encourage members of the public to sign up for that. It's free, and it's a really great opportunity. So that, and just also want to follow up on the comments around the Caustic Center. And again, I think there's been a couple of comments. Just want to reiterate that. I believe all the comments I've had and discussions, and I believe there's a good understanding of the challenges around the Caustic Center and what the services it provides. And I think we're all looking forward to moving ahead with a decision that's going to provide a long-term solution that meets the needs of our seniors in this community. So hopefully we can rest assured that there is understanding and interest in making this move this ahead sooner rather than later. So thank you for those people who made comments this evening, and I think there's certainly good understanding for what's needed. So thank you.
Actually, why don't we just go down the line, because I'm seeing just about everybody with their hands up.
Oh, okay. All right. This is very personal to me. Over the past few weeks, I've been asked several questions about my stance on DEI. As a member of this council and African and Native American by descent, I welcome and embrace the philosophy behind DEI. In this city, with over 82,000 residents who speak more than 60 languages, it is the most diverse city in Oakland County, and I respect the diversity of those who live here and also those who work here and play here. I recognize that many times we're faced with something we don't understand or embrace, and it can be uncomfortable. But if we want to be the best city, we need policies and programs that are not only consistent with state and federal anti-discrimination laws, but we need those policies and programs that foster an environment where everyone has the opportunity to succeed, especially in the most diverse city in Oakland County. And that foundation is DEI. Now, DEI stands for diversity, and that includes gender, ethnicity, sexual orientation, disability, age, culture, class, religion, and opinion. Equity, which is the E part of DEI, is a concept of fairness and justice. And inclusion, the I, is where we all feel that our voices are heard. It's an organizational framework. It's systematic and well thought out that seeks to promote the fair treatment and full participation of all people. It's been going on for years under different names, but what DEI is not, it's not a code word for Black people. In fact, the U.S. Department of Labor reported that Black folks benefited the least from DEI initiatives. The #1 recipient of DEI initiatives, according to the Department of Labor, are white women, followed by ethnic minorities, and that's Latinos and Hispanics, Asian Americans, individuals with disabilities, veterans, LGBTQ+, and in last place are African Americans. Now, you can't hire a person based on race to meet a diversity goal. That's illegal. But you can make an effort to increase diversity in the workplace through hiring initiatives and sending messages that the workplace should be fair and open to everyone. For example, when recruiting, you could cast a wide net to give a more diverse pool of applicants, or provide a more diverse pool of contractors. But such applicants must be qualified for the positions, and a contractor must meet all the bid requirements and be cost competitive. It does not mean hiring an underqualified person for a job just because they're a person of color. Everyone has to meet their job qualifications. Now, most folks believe that DEI initiatives are good things. According to the Pew Research Center, which is a nonpartisan, non-advocacy think tank that informs the public about issues, attitudes, and trends shaping the world. On May 17, 2023, the Pew Center issued a report that states the majority of Americans, 53%, support DEI. There is value in DEI. I checked with several of my HR friends who are directors here in Michigan, including some from Ford Motor Company, General Motors, Visteon, and Blue Cross and Blue Shield. I ran to them a couple of initiatives I thought, and I asked them, did they consider these DEI initiatives? And they all said yes. And some of these things include ramps and sidewalk curb cuts so that people in wheelchairs can traverse the city and their sidewalks, subtitles and captions for the hearing impaired or the visual impaired, changing tables in men's restrooms so they could change their baby's diapers, breastfeeding pumping stations and accommodation for those women who go back to work early and want to continue breastfeeding their child. Floating paid holidays, pay equity and transparency, parental leave, time and pay, coming back to a job after childbirth, not having to accept workplace harassment, work accommodations for a variety of disability, flexible work arrangements, size-inclusive chairs and beds in medical facilities, belt extenders on planes, various food options. I appreciate that as a vegetarian and sometimes vegan. Wellness programs and incentives, more relaxed and inclusive dress codes, rooms to pray and meditate at work and other public places, large print materials for those who have visual problems, multiple religious options at hospitals, public transit accommodations. So, what is DEI about? It's about who's in the room, who's trying to get in the room but can't, and whoever's in the room, that they are heard. Now, for that business owner here in Farmington Hills who reached out to me to let me know that they're closing their business after 5 years of success because they feel they're being targeted in the current climate, I want you to know, that business owner, that all residents and business owners should feel safe in this city, and I'll do whatever I can to ensure your safety. And to Emily, who reached out to me via email, I will do everything within my authority to assure that my constituents are protected and treated fairly. Now, to every Farmington Hills resident, whether you're white, black, brown, whether you practice Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Hinduism, or Buddhism, or if you face physical or mental challenges, or gender and ethnic intimidation or harassment, it is my promise and my commitment to ensure that everyone feels welcome, protected, and heard. That I promise.
Thank you. Mr. Bridges.
Just want to compliment Councilman Boulware for a comprehensive views regarding diversity. She explained what is diversity, equity, inclusion, because there clearly is a lot of misinformation out there regarding that. She did a terrific job in going through the different groups that are affected by diversity, equity, inclusion. And so I want to compliment you for that. And I think you did a service to the community by your comments, by educating the community. And I know our city is respected of having a diversity, equity, inclusion program that includes all those different groups. And we've taken a lot of steps in our city to recognize that as well. So again, Councilman Boulware, I appreciate your comments, and that was helpful to our community and to me as well, and hoping the entire council, to our city. Thank you for that.
Anyone else? Yes, please.
Thank you. I just want to announce that starting in March 1st, I will be having coffee hours at 10 o'clock at Panera Bread on 12 and Halsted. This is for residents to stop by and talk about any issue that's on their mind about the city, whether it's the Caustic Center, taxes, public safety, parks, whatever it may be. I call it Brews with Bruce, so stop by, have a cup of coffee, and we can have some lively discussion and debate about what's going on in the city, and I would be very interested in hearing your point of view and in terms of what you see and experience here. And so I welcome you to be there on the first Saturday at 10 o'clock. Thank you.
Okay, I have a few. All right, Walk the Hawk. Our monthly event is tomorrow at noon. In light of the weather, we'll see you on the third floor of the Hawk, and we'll do laps, and similarly, we will hear what's on your mind and look forward to seeing who shows up this month. In March, by the way, we've had to change the date. March date is going to be March 3rd. Farmington Hills, I Do Still, our second annual now. This is the vow renewal for couples to come in and retie the knot. This will be held at Longacre House at 2:30. It is a free event, but you have to register. It's open to 50 couples who may each bring up to 2 guests. And if you would like to register for this, we have a couple of spots available still, I think, and you have to register by the 12th. Great prizes, and we have a wonderful partnership going with WNIC. You may have heard the ads on the radio, and they'll be providing prizes. There will be tickets to shows here in the city, and the grand prize is dinner for 2 at Stephen Lely's Inn on the Green. And I've been told that they're even going to put rose petals on the table for the winners. A couple of recognitions. Farmington Hills resident Nomi Joyrich was recently recognized as a democracy warrior, so congratulations to Nomi. And we have a Harrison grad who's about to do something pretty fantastic. Samantha Lalonde, whose dad Jim still lives in the community, was born and raised in Farmington Hills. She is a Harrison graduate, and she is going to be running the 53rd Iditarod. And her dad says, for those not familiar, it's a 1,000-mile race on dog sled through some pretty harsh land of Alaska and below zero temperature weather. And thought you'd all want to hear what one of our superstar residents is up to. A couple more things. Just recently, we had, and you heard the minutes approved this evening, we had a joint meeting with the City of Farmington and the Farmington School District, and have also just such a powerful meeting, and a lot of great recommendations came from that. One of the things that came from it is that we would really, really love to be able to send some of our kids to conferences so that they can interact with other leaders and bring back great ideas and build their own leadership skills. There were a few of us who were really hoping we could bring them with us to our National League of Cities Conference, which is going to be next month. However, the price on that's $20,000 that we don't have in the budget. So we are looking to have a budget conversation on that, as well as we have a little bit of money set aside from the weddings I've been performing, so we're going to be able to look at sending some of these students to a local or regional conference yet this year. And I think that does it for mine. That then takes us to the city manager update.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening, council. So wanted to make all of our residents aware that I think everybody, or hopefully everybody in the community knows that we just completed a citywide zoning master plan for the community. As an additional phase to that effort, we are really drilling down into specific corridors within the city. And in this particular instance, I'm referencing the 12-mile road corridor and the Orchard Lake Road corridor. There is a survey. We've contracted with a consultant to do what's known as a corridor market study. And we're really trying to find out what our residents would like to see in those corridors, whether it's mixed-use development, more housing, all of the above, you name it. We're looking for your comment and your input. So there is a very short survey that everybody can access through the city's website. It's actually a crawler on the main page of the website. If you go to it, www.fhgov.com, and you can complete the survey. That survey information is all your responses will remain confidential. There's no attribution. We're not collecting any kind of metadata or anything from anybody. We're not going to look to see where you live. We just want input. And everybody's perspectives on this are valuable. We truly need to know what the city can do to try to attract some different businesses, entertainment opportunities, housing opportunities within those corridors. And there'll be another study coming up in the not too distant future for the Grand River corridor as well. So hope everybody participates in that. The next thing is, unfortunately, we're expecting some winter storms this week and wanted everybody just kind of wanted to touch on a few things regarding our winter maintenance operations through our DPW department. So Wednesday evening and into Thursday morning, we have a high potential for several inches of snow. So just a few reminders. As part of our winter maintenance operations, our Public Services Department focuses on major roads first. Those are the main line roads, 13 Mile Road, Farmington Road, all of the roads that are city roads, and there are several county roads in the city as well. Orchard Lake Road, Middle Belt Road, 12 Mile Road. We think we do a better job of clearing snow in the wintertime than the county, so I would say stick to the city roads. Our winter maintenance plan also states that we only go into the neighborhood streets when we receive 4 more inches of snow. If we do get 4 more inches of snow, our crews, again, will still continue to focus their efforts and winter fighting operations on our major roads until they're opened up and cleared for safe passage of travel, and then we will enter into the neighborhoods. The city typically has a goal, if we do go into the neighborhoods, to clear all of those neighborhoods within about 48 hours after the snowfall ends. We're asking residents to please remove your vehicles from the streets so that our plow crews can efficiently and more easily clear the snow. We have some folks that try to get smart because they don't want to shovel the windrow at the end of the driveway, and so they park their car at the end of the driveway. You're going to shovel one way or another, and it's either going to be to dig your car out or to clear your driveway out. So get your shovels ready. There is currently no planned delay in rubbish, and I say currently. So if folks in the audience have a rubbish day picked up on Thursday morning, I would plan on that. I'm not saying there isn't a delay. This will be a game day decision, and certainly the heavier the snow and the bigger the storm, the more delayed our rubbish crews will be, depending on the intensity of the storm. Please do not push or have your contractor push snow in the road. You can push it all the way across the road. Hopefully you have a good relationship with your neighbor across the street. Certainly have patience, drive safely. And if we do go into the neighborhoods, I would refer everybody to the city website. We have a plowing progress map. It's very rudimentary, but if you go to the Public Services website, there will be a map, and we'll probably bring it to the front of the website, Jacob, so that you can see whether or not your snowplow is yet to be, your streets in your section or your square mile have yet to be touched, if it's in progress, or if they've been completed, okay? So that's it as it relates to the snow plowing. I also wanted to give City Council and residents an update on the recruitment process for our new police chief. So last week, our recruitment team interviewed the top 5 candidates for the position. The interview panel was comprised of a 7-person team that was comprised of several department directors, including the fire chief, police union leaders, the 47th District Court Administrator, and the public school superintendent. So the next step for folks that are interested is for myself, the Assistant City Manager, and our HR Director to interview the final top 2 candidates and bring that appointment forward for City Council consideration. It's also my understanding there may be some in the audience that aren't clear on charter language as it relates to the department head appointments. So if anybody's interested, review of Section 502 of the city charter grants the city manager authority to appoint department directors subject to approval of City Council. The same section also states the following: department directors shall be appointed solely on the basis of executive and administrative qualifications, with special emphasis upon specialized training and background necessary for the proper functioning and administration of each particular department. So to that end, I'd like everybody in the audience to understand that our administrative team is committed to a thorough and transparent recruitment process to ensure that we select the candidate that best meets the needs and the charter requirements of our community. And so with that, I'm happy to meet with any resident or city council person that has a concern or questions about that process. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that then takes us to a public hearing. We're on item 6. This is a public hearing and consideration of amendment to Planned Unit Development 2, 2021, including revised site plan 59-5-2022, located at 27400 12 Mile Road. For those of you who may want to speak at this public hearing, we ask that you please complete a blue slip and turn it in to the clerk and let her know that you would like to speak on this particular public hearing. Good evening, Charmaine.
Good evening. Charmaine Kettler-Schmaltz, the Director of Planning and Community Development. I'm going to do a quick intro for the item, as we have a number of people to hear from on this tonight. This is the proposed plan for the Sarah Fisher Orphanage site at 12 Mile and Middle Belt. And this is the second significant revision that we've seen to this property since it was originally submitted to us back in 2021. The proponent will go through a little bit more with you, but it has transitioned from a 100-bed skilled nursing facility and townhouses to a solely condominium, individually built detached units, a total of 75 are on the current plan. And so this version has been through the Planning Commission with a set for and public hearing. There was a recommendation in December of 2024 by a 7-0 vote for the Planning Commission to recommend approval of this layout to the City Council. This evening is the public hearing, as the Mayor had mentioned. I'm going to go through the order real quick just to refresh everyone's memory. So we have the Giffords-Webster review. Jill is here to do that presentation for you this evening. We have the proponent in the House to give information. We will have the public hearing, and then it will be open to the council for questions, answers, deliberations. If you have any questions for me, otherwise I'm going to turn it over for the plan review. No?
Okay, Council? All right.
All right.
Good evening,
Thank you.
Jill.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. Jill Boehm, Giffords-Webster, the city's planning consultant. This project has been something people have been very interested in for many years since it was originally proposed, approved, and trying to get that developed, running into one hurdle after another and trying to clear as many as they could. And finally, we've ended up with just a complete change in the project. So as was stated, the original approval of the PUD called for, essentially there were two use areas. One was a 100-bed skilled nursing facility, and then the other was 51 ranch homes on the northern portion. So this has been changed to be entirely residential, targeted at older members of the community, with 75 detached ranch homes, and then 4 individual lots, as you'll see those on 12 Mile Road as well. The site is zoned RA, oops, I always get that mixed up, RA1B, right? Yeah. Yep, RA1B, as is all of the property to the north. There are about 35 acres altogether, with a substantial portion of that being preserved as natural features preservation, about 11.5 acres of that. I can review with you some of the details on the minimum lot sizes and the lot splits, with just a note that the 4 splits along 12 Mile Road do meet the lot area calculation that's required by the RA1B district, but they do fall short of the 140 feet of lot width at 111. The relief from the ordinance standards, and again, when we have a planned unit development, this is when we are entertaining with a property owner or developer for a project that couldn't be built under the traditional standards of the zoning ordinance in exchange for something, other community benefits. This is an interesting site because it has some historic features to it. It does have a historic chapel on the site. Some of the other characteristics of the property is its topography, the water, making it kind of challenging, as you've known, is because it has been through this process for some time, a very challenging piece to develop. And so this would be a good candidate for a plan unit development, as we've been having it approved in the past. So for this particular version, the 75 units, that is requesting the density of 75 units, which is about 4.4 units per acre. Under the regular standards, it would be about 1.7 units per acre, so it's a little bit higher than that. Reducing the exterior side setback along Cheswick, which is the street along the north. No installation of the western buffer plantings, and then the 111-foot lot width for the splits on 12 Mile, where 140 feet is required. I can go into more detail if you have any other questions for me. Otherwise, I will leave it at that and let you move on.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Bridges.
Yeah, thank you for your presentation. Optelis, when they had the rights to the property, they had some concerns. There were situations regarding water table and issues like that. Did you have any response? Have the applicant, proponent addressed those issues that were inhibiting Optelis from moving forward? I think there was a water table issue. Can you refresh our regarding that?
I think I would like the applicant to discuss that. I do know that one of the conditions of the Planning Commission's recommendation of approval was that compliance with engineering review letter plus any other additional requirements of engineering departments. We think that would be related to that.
Yeah, because the issue was, because Optelis was really having a lot of challenges in trying to overcome that situation, right? Do you recall that?
Yeah.
Okay. And so I just wanted to make sure that this new proposal does take a stab at addressing that issue, because that was a major obstacle for Optelis to move forward with their project, as I was told by Raj Patel. So I don't know if that still exists on this proposal, and if there are any steps that have been done by the proponent to address those issues that was inhibited the development going through in the first place.
We would just recommend that if you've got concerns about that, that's reflected in your motion, along with the other conditions of the city's engineer.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, great. Go forward.
Good evening. Tim Lochran with Robertson Homes, 6905 Telegraph Road. I have a quick presentation, if you so indulge me, and I'd like to run through. We're very excited to be here. Been in front of you a few times already. I think this is probably the best version of the plan. So we did acquire Optelis' interest in the property. So we are the sole developer of the property, still owned by Evangelical Homes, and hopefully we could get approvals and close on the property and build this. So we're excited. We've been on this for a number of years. I know Raj has been on it before that. And really, I think it just keeps getting better with time. So I think everybody knows the location. It's the former Sarah Fisher Orphanage at the northwest corner, 12 Mile. And Inkster, there are a number of existing buildings there. And I'll kind of walk through what we're proposing to save from the existing buildings and the Historical District Commission approval that we did receive. So just kind of quickly going over what was approved before, this is the second amendment of the plan. The first amendment you'll see on the top part of this. And just, it's very confusing. I'm still confused after 5 years of working on this project, but north is to the left. So just lays out much better this way. So I'll probably say north and, point up, and that's wrong. But north is to the left. So the first plan that we had approved from you was for really a mixed type of development. The Optelis building that Raj Patel had worked on is that area to the right there. What's a skilled nursing facility? I think it was about 100 beds. We had proposed and got approved for, I think there were 93 total units with townhomes along Inkster and then detached condominiums, essentially buffering those to the neighborhood to the west, Hickory Oaks. This was right around the time of COVID, and a lot of things obviously changed. we felt that the better use really was to switch to all detached condominiums for our portion of the site, which is really the north 2/3 of the site. And then that's what you see below, which was the First Amendment, which was approved as well. We had a number of fits and starts on this, starts and stops, if you will, and they're for many different reasons. Some of those were related to Aptalis, some of them were related to some infrastructure. The city is working on a lift station, new lift station on 12 Mile, which has facilitated this, so that's been some of the delay. And just really working through the issues with Aptalis so we could develop the entire parcel. So you saw this already, and hopefully I won't repeat too much of what Charmaine and Jill had mentioned, but this is the new plan, and I'm going to point out just a few things, highlights to the site, and some of the unique parts of the site. Everybody knows how difficult this project really has been and what we've been working with. The cornerstone of the property, bar none, is really the existing buildings, the existing chapel. We are proposing to save the chapel from the orphanage and really work that into the project as an amenity, as something that we can be proud of, that's front and center. When this was previously in the plans, which I'll show in a second, this really was an afterthought. It was kind of attached to the skilled nursing facility as kind of like just a sitting room, if you will. We want to make it front and center for our project. So you've got it when you come in off of, and again, to the left is north, but as you're traveling north on Inkster, you would turn left into the main intersection, which is that boulevard entrance, which I'll get to in a second. But we wanted to have a real presence off of Inkster with that boulevard, and then when you come in, you'll see, obviously, right here, the chapel building, which we are rehabbing. It's going to look beautiful. Historic District's already approved it. We're very excited about that. And that gives us kind of a community gathering area for the entire project and something that's a focal point for everybody that comes to this community. So that's really kind of I would say, the cornerstone of the project. The plans that we're proposing, you'll see on the top right, they're all detached condominiums, about 2,000 square feet roughly. They're two different products, but they're pretty much the same, to be honest. It's a product that we build. I don't know if anybody builds more than Robertson. This is something that is very successful in a lot of communities. It keeps people in your community and frees up homes for those families looking to raise their families in Farmington Hills. And this is something that I think really you're lacking. I think you would admit that as well, and it's something we're happy to provide. So we're excited about it. And again, it's all first floor masters, which is something that is very unique. So what you'll see also is that green screen along Inkster. So that entire stretch of Inkster would be what I'm calling a green screen. We just really want to screen that to make it look beautiful as you come down Inkster. One of the things that we have worked with closely, we've worked with the neighborhood quite a bit. In fact, the representative of Hickory Oaks would have been here if he wasn't on an island right now. So he has sent in a letter of support, and we walked that area to the west, which is on the bottom. See how confusing it is? And he's agreed there's so much existing vegetation there and foliage that it really doesn't make sense to have to screen that. You're just screening to existing vegetation. So what we've worked out with them is instead to put trees along Cheswick. If you recall Cheswick, for those that were on the council before, there was a lot of consternation about connecting to Cheswick. We are not proposing to connect to Cheswick. We do not need to. And that has made them very happy. We've also proposed, in lieu of those trees on the west side, to replace 10 evergreen trees. Now, it's in your right-of-way, but we're hoping that that's something you could be agreeable to it, to have us add 10 more trees, just because there's some that have died there, and it just makes sense to green that up. Cheswick's a beautiful street. If you drive down that, it is a very impressive street. So that's something that's important to them. That's something we would agree to have a PUD stipulation on along Cheswick. So that would be 10 trees up to 12 feet, or 12 feet in height along Cheswick where they've died. So that's another thing that I can point out here. A few more things, just going through it again. We're taking down much of the buildings. There's a lot there. They're in disrepair, as you can probably see. Kind of a dangerous situation, so we're hoping to get started on that this year. We are retaining a lot of the materials, I wouldn't say a lot of, some of the materials that we can reuse for signage, We are keeping the gates. If you see the gates at the corner of Inkster and 12 Mile and the fencing there, we want to keep that as kind of a memorial to what this was. We've also proposed to do some signage to reflect the previous use as the orphanage. We think that's important. I didn't kind of get into it enough, but the chapel garden, so we're making it a focal gathering. You can see the blow up to the right. We want to propose art. I know that's something important to the city, and a rain garden, and really just a gathering area for the people in the community. So that's a blow up there, as you can see to the right. A couple of things to point out. You can't really see it too well, but this section right here, that's the new location for the sewer lift station, the Sarah Fisher lift station. It was on site here. The city asked us if it would be okay to move it along 12 Mile, which makes a lot more sense, a lot more centrally located there. We agreed it makes a lot of sense, and we're excited that that is getting started. You can see a lot of green on this, 39% open space. That's a lot of open space. And it's something that there's a lot of natural open space. You can see a lot of existing trees that we're just not even going to touch. So I think there's a lot of greenery here that's going to stay. There are 75 detached condominiums here. This area here, if you recall, Optalis really didn't have a plan for that. I know that that was something that engineering originally had said, what are you going to do there? And Raj really never quite had an answer. We said, well, it should be residential, 4 single-family lots, which is very consistent with what you see along 12 Mile. That's what we're proposing along there. That would be in a future phase for that section. A couple other things. I did talk about the Hickory Oaks letter. Well, I think that's it. So I can answer any questions you have on the site plan at this point, or if I can continue along if you'd like.
Dr. Bruce?
Thanks for the information. Just a quick question from the letter from the fire marshal on November 11th. They had some concerns about the site access for the fire apparatus in terms of a 50-foot turning radius.
Yep.
Were you able to
comment
that?
Yes. I'll get into some of those engineering questions, and I apologize, but yes, we are able to meet that, and it might take a little bit of a tweaking of that, but our engineer has shown engineering staff that area is right up here.
Okay. So you don't think you'll have any problem?
I don't think we'll have any issues whatsoever.
Fire
yeah.
marshal's concerned.
Exactly.
Okay, great. All right.
Yes.
Thank you.
So a couple highlights, and I'll go quickly through this.
We have one more council
yeah, of course,
question, Mr. Eldred.
Sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, well, just one question. There's a marked exit road there to 12 Mile.
That's a great question. That is an emergency vehicle access. So it kind of serves two purposes. It serves, access to these 4 units here. It also provides emergency access for fire, not only for our community, but also for the future lift station. So we thought that through. It kind of serves 3 functions there, but it is emergency vehicle access.
Emergency only,
Correct.
or is it closed?
It'll be closed, it'll have a gate, yeah, and we'll work with fire to make sure that it meets whatever standards they have, and of course, we'll make it look attractive as well. Oakland County's already approved that location.
Thank you.
Mr. Bridges?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Your presentation is you moved to respond to some of those questions we had before regarding the last development. And but I want to ask a question regarding this. You said part of the relief you're seeking is to permit no installation of the western buffer plantings. Why is that?
So that's what I was talking about before. We walked that whole perimeter. We had actually staked it, the entire tree clearing area. We went out there, we had our engineer stake it, and we walked with the representative of Hickory Oaks. And we showed them that we're really not clearing much of that at all. And so what's remaining there is a total green screen. So they agreed essentially that is enough of a buffer that there'd be no reason for us to put more trees in front of trees, is how we looked at that.
So you have a letter or response from Hickory Oaks saying that they would not object to that?
Correct. And in lieu of that, we said, okay, instead of that, first of all, we are going to put more along Inkster than we're required to make up for some of those, but also the 10 trees along Cheswick. So that was part of that agreement with them. That's part of the letter
Okay. Now, looking at your tree planting proposal, large, would that include the no response in regards to large scrubs and small scrubs? For, you don't have a response. The city did not, planning consultant didn't put a response there regarding proposed comments. You had large shrubs and the small scrubs requires 30-inch height and 24-inch width, 10 feet and 4 feet in height. There's no, the city says there's no comment in regards to that.
So that is the buffer here. So there's a requirement. I would argue that there really shouldn't be a requirement for residential to residential, but since these aren't single family, I think there was a requirement to put a buffer there. But again, there's existing trees and shrub and scrub that has plenty of screen there. So our proposal is to, in lieu of that, to put additional screening along Inkster and then those 10 trees along Cheswick.
Excellent. You also outlined, and the planning consultant outlined the several benefits that the city public will receive because of this development as well. So thank you for your comments. We look forward to, okay, thank you.
Thank you. If I can go through just a couple more, or
Sure.
if you have questions, I'll certainly stop.
Oh, just you may get into this. If so, then just stop me on this. But
Of course.
What will be the average square footage of the homes? Are they 2 and 3 bedroom homes? And the average price, do you think, the selling price on
Great
this?
questions. So the square footage, there'll be two plans. One's 1,800 and about 50 square feet. The other plan's around 2,000 square feet. They're both very similar. They're both basically 2 bedrooms with a den and 2.5 bath. And that's really a plan that we find very successful for this type of buyer. They can also finish out the basement if they would like. We are proposing a plan where you could put a couple bedrooms upstairs. It's not really upstairs, it's like a cape, so it doesn't really change the look of the house. It just kind of puts them in the rafters, if you will. That's something we would propose too. We call that a 1.5 stories. But again, it's all first floor master bedroom living.
What's the price, do you think?
The price, I can never answer this correctly, but we'll probably start out in the 500s, the mid to high 500s. I will be honest, they will end up going out the door considerably more than that. People just put a lot of money into these options and things like that, so.
And this isn't age restricted at all?
It's age targeted. So I would say, again, we've probably built more of these than most, probably any other builder. I think we've run analysis. I know we've run analysis. It's about 3% of buyers are not, say, 55 older. So that's really, we don't have to restrict it because families just won't buy here. You can't have a yard, you can't have a pool, you can't have, playground. It just kind of works itself into being all age targeted, regardless of the fact we don't restrict.
Okay, thank you.
So a couple highlights here. Again, the 75 detached condos and the 4 single family. Currently, it's a tax exempt user, so we'll be generating over $1 million in taxes from a property that's just kind of sitting there. But I think even more important, it's an option for those that just don't have an option for this type of housing here. So we hear it. We've been looking for a site in Farmington Hills long before this. We think that this is the right site for it, and we're very excited to provide an option that just doesn't exist for most in the community. It'll be walkable and inviting. Again, I talked about those amenities and the reuse of historic, and then, as I mentioned, the transition to the others. I wanted to touch on this real quick, and you had actually talked about it a little bit earlier in the meeting here. I don't know how much I necessarily believe with some of what SEMCOG says, but this is consistent throughout Southeast Michigan. Really, the only demographic that's growing is 65 and over. And your community is no different. So when you look at from 2022 to 2050, so over the next almost 30 years, really the only growth you're going to see is in 65 plus. At a minimum, that is where most of your growth is going to be, even if this isn't correct here on the bottom. But that's a need for 40 to 50 of these homes a year. So we'll do our best and we'll look for more land, but it's definitely a hole that I think every city needs to fill. And what's important about this buyer is the buyer profile. They don't have kids, right? They don't have third and fourth cars. They don't have bus stops, and so it really doesn't have the same kind of impact to not only utilities, but also traffic. So you can see this is from our traffic consultant, about half, just a little more than half of what a normal single-family neighborhood would generate for the same number of units, which is kind of interesting. So I think Jill had talked about a lot of this, but it's 30 acres. We're proposing PUD, so there will be a PUD agreement, obviously, that will work out. And then I kind of talked about this already. You'd asked the question, the square footage, and then, of course, the open space. So I want to touch real quick on the historic district. This was very important. We had worked very hard with, and so did Optalis, working with the historic district to come up with a plan that saves as much as really what's possible on the site. There's no way to save everything. Most of those buildings really aren't functional whatsoever. And there's a lot of unique aspects of them that we'll try to keep, but that chapel is the thing that really kind of everybody gravitated toward keeping that chapel. It's not cheap to renovate that chapel, I would say that right now, but it's going to be a great amenity. We don't typically do amenities like this in our communities, but this is something that I think is just perfectly situated in the center that we're hoping to do. So on the top part of this, that's what Raj had proposed. It's hard to see, I kind of admit there, but you can see he really had it as an afterthought, if anything, connected to the skilled nursing facility, really adjacent to a back parking lot. So we're putting it front and center. We're making it a little bit more residential. This was approved. This look was approved by the historic district last year. And then again, that's some proposed art and community gardens there. So I think this is going to be a fantastic addition here. PUD design benefits. 40% of the site is open space. We're reusing historic elements. Providing land for the sanitary lift station relocation. We've got that community gathering space, which is going to be phenomenal. Embracing that natural environment, again, trying to keep it as natural as possible on the surrounding, especially to our west. Acting as a transition, Inkster is a very heavily traveled road. You've got a lot of office and commercial. And we had already had townhomes approved. We think that this is really a much better transition to that single family to the west, and of course they've supported us in that. And then just providing that housing product that's in demand in your community. Plenty of utilities, especially once the Sarah Fisher lift station is built. And then I hadn't really mentioned this too much, but there will be a homeowners association. They'll maintain all of the landscaping, so it'll always look like it, like a Disneyland, if you will. They'll keep it up to that degree, including the roofs and the siding and all of that. That's all covered by the HOA for maintenance. So you'll always have a nice looking community there. Again, that's what they look like. And then I can show you some of the floor plans. Both floor plans are very similar to this. This is the smaller one. The larger one honestly looks about the same. It's just a little bit wider. So I didn't really think I needed to show that specifically, but you can see here it's got the 2 bedrooms, and then it has a really nice den. We're building this in, I hate talking about other communities, but it is relevant. We're building it in Troy, Northville, soon to be in Lyon Township. And these are communities that are mature or maturing, and really people are looking for that type of housing to stay in their community, and we're happy to provide that. So I wanted to touch, you'd ask a question about fire. If I can touch a couple of items that I think are worth getting your input on. I did get input from the Planning Commission on these. Some of these were not their purview. I will say that they supported much of what I'm going to say here. These are comments that we had from staff. I will say we work very well with staff. We've had a lot of meetings with them. We've worked through a lot of issues. There's just a few that I want to make sure before we get to the next step, because we're going to be doing final engineering if you approve us tonight. I want to make sure that we're on the same page with everything. So one of the comments was engineering had asked us to consider eliminating the boulevard entrance and then also the emergency access to the new lift station. We feel the boulevard entrance is something that kind of creates something unique to the community. The Planning Commission had agreed with that. So we're hoping we can keep the boulevard. It also adds some safety elements, so you can have kind of two-way if one gets shut down for fire. And then I kind of had mentioned already this emergency vehicle access, why the importance of that is. It's to, provide a secondary access, but also for, not only for us, but also for the lift station. So we would hope you could approve with these as part of the design. The other one you had mentioned, sir, the 50-foot turning radius, and we will meet that requirement. The other comment they had was servicing unit 71, really 71. And what we proposed, and the Planning Commission was supportive of this, is cutting that driveway up a little bit. And then 71, I don't have it shown here, but 71 would then just have a longer driveway. And I think staff's okay with that. I don't want to speak for staff, but I know that the Planning Commission, I thought that that was a good idea. So now it's not an overlength drive, and that 71 would just have its own driveway here that would start at the end of this driveway. So hopefully that makes sense. And then the last one, they had asked about realigning Unit 68. I do understand the comment. It does have kind of a long driveway here. What I will say to this is these are not single-family homes. They don't function. They don't act like single-family homes. You don't have a backyard per se. So they're not going to look like a single-family neighborhood. And I think sometimes people get tripped up on that. And I think 68 is going to be one of our better lots because it's going to be kind of off on itself. It's going to be private. It's going to have all that landscaping there. We don't want to lose Unit 68. We don't want to lose any units because I hope the city doesn't want us to lose any units because this is something that's really in demand and something that I think the city needs. So we're proposing to keep 68 the way it's designed, and we think that again, since it's a condominium community, that this really isn't strange as far as how a condominium development is done. In fact, we build a lot of these, so it's just coming from experience. And then there were a couple other ones I just want to mention. They had made a comment, engineering made a comment about access for the 4 single-family lots off a 12-mile. They had suggested one single ribbon cut road for common access. I think that would cut off a lot of the front yard. I don't think that would be good. It would be a lot more impervious surface. What we're proposing is something like a T turnaround. And the whole comment was, we don't want people backing out on a 12-mile. I fully agree with that. So what we're proposing is they would basically come in, and I drew this, so sorry, it's not very good. But you come in, and then you back out, and then you go out this way, which you see a lot along some of these kind of rural corridors. We think that that's the best. We do need Oakland County to sign off on this, obviously, but that's what you see typically along the road. I think it'd be much better than having concrete along the entire frontage of these units. So that's another thing we would like you to weigh in on. And then the last one is just typically we try to have sump lines in the back, the rear yard catch basins. Instead of having rear yard catch basins and all of that storm infrastructure, have the rear yards flow into the stormwater facilities directly into it. And I'm mentioning, sorry, I'm going way far, but I'm talking like these units here, rather than putting infrastructure in the back that would then tie into the storm and then go into the storm pond. Typically in communities, it's better to have multiple points of access for the water rather than coming all in one point. It's going to go in the same spot anywhere, so it's less infrastructure. So not necessarily going to die in that hill, but that's something that we were hoping we could do here. It affects grade. You're going to have more retaining walls to make it work. You're going to have less ability to put in trees to screen. We would prefer to do it that way. So those are all the things, or the comments that we had that I'd like you to hopefully weigh in on. Again, the Planning Commission was supportive of the ones they could opine on. There has been a new, I would say, issue since the Planning Commission, and I don't like surprises like this. But when you work with DTE, not to call out DTE, sometimes things don't happen as fast as you like. So we've been working with them on the power grid for the project. And since the Planning Commission, they informed us that there's a power pole where our northern driveway is going to be. And we had proposed moving it, which is not cheap, but maybe tens of thousands. Apparently it's an ITC pole. So now you're spinning the wheel, and they said around 400,000, which means probably 600,000 knowing ITC. I'm sorry, knowing DTE. So that's something we can absorb with this project. So we need to think of ways to move around that with your help. One of the things we thought about is doing what we call either a pork chop or a landscape median entrance. So this area here, hopefully you can see my diagram, but we would keep the pole in place, have a landscape median, and then kind of choke the road down. I don't think that's good for a number of reasons. We shared this with engineering staff, and I think generally speaking, and again, I don't want to speak for them, they can certainly talk, it could work. The issue is now you got a pole in the middle of that intersection, and what if somebody hits it one day? And it's an expensive, it's an ITC. How much is it to move? 400 plus thousand. So what we would hope to resolve is to eliminate that northern driveway altogether. We do not need that driveway because we do have a second point of access here for emergency. Typically, our communities are more of an enclave type of project anyway. So we would prefer to have the one entrance. And there's a lot of things that are positive by removing, if you would allow us to remove the second entrance. There's going to be no conflicts with Cheswick if it's removed. I know that would certainly be helpful to the neighborhood to the west. Again, there wouldn't be any risk of somebody running into that power pole someday. And then the other thing it can provide for us is to provide an entire green screen for this whole section. So this drive would go away. We would make this a green section. I'm not going to lie to you. I may come back to you guys for a site plan amendment to add a unit back right here. I don't know if there's any negative to add more housing for this type of buyer, but regardless, we would like to see that removed just from a safety perspective and just from, I think, an aesthetics perspective. So I did have a traffic study recommissioned for that. There's no issue with having a single point of access, and I've got it with me, and I sent it to engineering today, having all of the access come to the boulevard as far as turning motions on Inkster. So I'm happy to discuss that a little bit more, but that would be our proposal.
Yeah, I'm really concerned about the whole idea of engineering this on the fly here tonight. Dr. Bruce, did you have?
Yeah, just
And Ms. Nalban.
in terms of that,
still
removing
have
the
to do the hearing.
driveway, does fire have any issues with that? Is it required by fire to have that?
It's not, and again, I don't want to speak for them, it's not required because there is a second point of access. They had looked to engineering for some comments for that, and I think engineering had some concerns with the potential of running into that. So from a ordinance perspective, we're meeting the second point of access for emergency, and again, from a traffic standpoint, it is, there was no issue with having traffic come from there. So I agree, I didn't want to bring this. I also need to move forward, so maybe there's a creative way to work through that.
So a couple things. Ms. Nall next, then we still need to open the public hearing, and then let's come back and have some questions, because I think that we need to hear from our advisors, please.
So, first of all, thank you very much. Thank you. I have been involved with this project probably longer than anyone else up here, because I serve as the liaison to the HDC. This property the Sarah Fisher home has sat vacant for many years in this community, many years. Numerous proposals have come forward, and none of them have ever come to fruition, because this site is extremely difficult to redevelop because of the grade of the property, the topography. There's a problem. The whole reason why they have to put in a new lift station is because there's not capacity on the problem. There's wetlands. There's just numerous issues on this site. And on top of it, it is a historic district site. And no developer has ever really wanted to spend the money to rehab any of the buildings on the site, because it adds so much cost to this proposal. So I am very appreciative of everything that you have been doing, because honestly, this is an excellent proposal. It has come so far. We have reduced the density of this project incredibly. I mean, it was going to be 100 beds, over 100 beds for a rehab skilled facility. On top of that, condos and townhouses. And now it's just become single-family, very, very lovely luxury homes, that condos, one story, that's definitely a need to seniors that either want to stay in our community or move into our community. So thank you very much. I would like to give my opinion on some of these questions that you have. And the reason is because I am sick of this. I want this development to move forward. We have worked on this for so long, and I don't want this to be held up any longer. I am well aware of how long it took, and I'm not blaming anyone. That's no one's fault. But between the developer and the city, this whole issue with the lift station has taken forever and been extremely frustrating to both parties. So I would like to give my opinion on some of this, because I think if we just say, no, we're not going to give our opinion on these questions he has tonight, he's going to go back to engineering, and they're going to go back and forth for another 2 months. And quite honestly, I do have strong opinions on these questions. So I can do it now, or I can do it after the public hearing. But
Why don't we do the public hearing, and then we'll come back and hit them with all the questions that people have.
Okay.
Okay? All right. I have not received any cards, but I am opening the public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to come forward to speak on this matter? Seeing no one, I am now closing the public hearing. Ms. Knoll?
great. Can you go back to the page that had your questions on it? This is the second page. This is where it starts. Okay. First of all, as far as the boulevard, I love boulevards. I think, first of all, they're safer because you have traffic coming in on one side, traffic exiting on the other side, and you have green space in between. So you don't have as much of a conflict with vehicles turning in and out, possibly hitting each other if one person takes a turn that's too wide. So I think it reduces potential accidents with your residents or guests coming in and out. Additionally, if something were to happen and a tree were to fall on one side of the boulevard, you still then, while the fire department is working to clear that issue, you now still have the other side that's open, and if need be, you can get two-way traffic on the other side of the boulevard. So I really like the boulevard. I'm not quite sure why they're suggesting eliminating it, but I think it actually is more beautiful and is just safer and provides more access. You've met the 50-foot radius. As far as 68 is concerned, I have no issue with that. I understand that engineering thinks it's a hidden rear yard, but like you said, these are condos, seniors. These are not probably younger families with kids that are gonna want front yards, side yards, rear yards. So I don't think that's an issue. I think actually tucked back in there, you get more privacy, and I think someone's gonna love that position. So I'm fine with that. Go to the next page. Yes, backing out onto 12 Mile would be a nightmare. Having a T-shaped driveway where someone can back out into the T and then go out forward is much safer and a better option than providing an access road that goes all the way across all four yards. I'm not sure why anyone would want that. That's just more concrete for more stormwater runoff. It's uglier. And then it also provides, someone could, I don't know why they would do this, but one of the residents could decide to drive from house 1 up to house 4 because it's a better location to turn. So I think this is a way better option, is to have the Ts. I don't really have much of opinion on the next one, the sump pump lines. I mean, I'm fine with it. Your proposal, if it can reduce changes to the grade, and if it can reduce the number of retaining walls that you have to build, I'm fine with it. The next one you had, the next question, oh boy. Yeah, I don't like having a power pole in the middle of a median. You're just asking for trouble. Someone takes too wide of a turn, they slip on some ice, boom, smash into an ICT pole, that can cause a nasty injury. Those are big poles. So I'm okay with the elimination of that, and the reason why I'm okay is because, first of all, you have a boulevard, which again provides you 2 entrance points right there in case of emergency. And additionally, if you keep the entrance by the lift station, that's your emergency access point for fire station if, God forbid, both of the boulevard roads were blocked due to power lines or a down pole or a tree or something like that. And I think I think that's all of them. So there's my opinion of them, and I'm giving that to you because, again, I'm hoping we can provide some guidance to the city administration so that we can move this process along and not make them come back 2-3 more times.
Thank you, Dr. Bruce.
Thank you. I like the plan a lot. I think it's a great plan, especially, I've been on this council for 20 years, and this has been an issue ever since I got on council back in 2003, I think. So it's just, I'm really glad to see something here that I'm hoping will be developed. I'm fine with everything on the plan. I'm even fine with removing that entrance because I lived in a condo complex for many years, and it had 160 units, over twice this many units, and it had one entrance, a boulevard entrance just like that, and that was it. And it was never an issue. And it was a condo complex with young and old, families, kids, everything. So it would have a lot more traffic than this, and there was never any issue with traffic coming in and out of that development. So I think with 75 units, age targeted, it's not going to be an issue at all. In fact, I think it makes it look even better without that second entrance, pouring in and out of Inkster Road. It gives it a more uniform look in the front, and it doesn't make it look choppy. So I think it's even better. I'm fine with the way you've got unit 68. I don't think that's an issue. And that unit 70, I think you said, the other unit, 71?
With the driveway.
I think it's fine. I don't have a problem with that. As long as, when you have everything finalized and you meet all the, public safety, fire department things, I'm good to go with this because I'd really like to see this developed as is and get this back on the tax rolls, clear out a lot of that junk that's on that property that's an attractive nuisance, and get some really nice condos in there.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Mr. Bridges.
Thank you, sir. I like your plan as well, subject to what we find out regarding those outstanding issues, which is important. But I think that, there's no reason to approve a project because it's been developed for several years. We have the right plan that meet the specifications and the zoning of the city, the PUD, okay? And so I don't like the fact it's been undeveloped too. I've been on this council for 17 years. I've seen several plans. And this is a very good plan. I mean, you responded to the Chestnut situation very, very nicely. And the issue regarding the turnaround, responded to that. And so I'm favorable to the plan, but subject to the reviews that are necessary to take place in order to ensure that we have the right project. So again, I think your presentation was good, and I think that you moved in the right direction regarding development. But there's still issues that have to be ironed out regarding this is a PUD, it's an agreement. So what happens after that is basically you negotiate with the city and the planning commission regarding those other issues that you have there. If those are satisfactorily resolved, you move forward. But I think it's a good plan, and I've seen several plans over the years, and this is a better plan than the last one. So let's keep our fingers crossed that you'll be able to satisfy all those issues and it can move forward.
Great,
okay?
thank you.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Aldred.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I agree with Councilmember Knoll's comments about the questions that were being asked here. I also agree with that. We can remove that additional entrance, assuming the traffic study, as you said, covers that. I think that will look better to have just that single entrance. And I think I also share the frustration in terms of, we approve PUDs and they don't get built. So, that's certainly what we would like to see is this get approved to the point where it then is actually.
We don't do it as hobbies.
So. Get it built. I have 2 quick questions for you, if I may. One is, you mentioned the chapel being a centerpiece, and I appreciate you taking the time and the investment to retain that as per the requirement. Could you just give me just a very brief description? You said it's going to be used. Could you give me any, because I looked for that, I couldn't see any details of exactly what you were thinking of there in terms of how that's going to be an amenity for the
Great question.
community?
Yeah, great question. So it's very open when you go in there right now. We're going to keep that for the most degree. We'll have a small little kitchen area so they can prepare food, that sort of thing. But it's really meant for cards, you know, that sort of thing. Just having a community gathering area. There'll be some bathrooms that we'll put in. But it's fairly small. I don't know the exact square footage. It's probably 1,500 square feet. I don't know exactly. But it's really meant for just a community gathering area with a small area so they can prepare some food.
All right, thank you. Second question is the Inkster Road along there, which I believe is a Southfield
It's Southfield, yes.
Road. That has the terrible condition of that road. I would hope after this, a construction of this quality is performed, that road will not be in the same condition it is right now. Have you had any discussions at all with Southfield in terms of their plan of actually bringing that up to a standard which someone would actually be pleased to drive on it without some kind of four-wheel vehicle or off-road vehicle to take
I share
it?
your sentiment. We've not had those formal engagements with Southfield at this point. And other than they know of the project, they're aware of it, they don't have any issues with the location. So I've not had the conversations about the condition, but I would hope
encourage you to
something
do
could
so.
happen.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyone else?
I have some.
Thank-
Ms. Bullower.
I've only been on council for 5 years, and it's been, even those 5 years, this particular project, the Fisher project, has been really problematic. But I'm thinking about, the boulevard that's on Inkster, since you're going to close the other entrance and exit way because of the pole. Is there any way that when you close that, that you could make the boulevard wider, have more, I don't know what the dimension is now for that boulevard, put more grass there? Is that a possibility or consideration that,
I'd have to look at it. It's a good question. I think what we had talked about originally internally was having enough green space kind of at the corners. So that would kind of eat into that. It's something we can look at. I know we're getting close to getting engineering kind of in a place where we can submit. But I can certainly talk to our engineer about that. I don't think there's anything necessarily that would affect it other than just kind of reducing these green space areas here.
okay. And the other thing is the 4 homes that are on 12 Mile.
Yes.
Well, that's a very problematic stretch of highway there, because even sometimes when it's certain hours, trying to make that right-hand turn onto 12 Mile going west from Inkster, you know, there's a little merging lane first there, and then it's a 1 lane. I don't know what it's going to look like after the 12 Mile renovation or reconstruction project is going to start next year.
Right.
But you say a traffic study has been done, correct?
It has been done. And
For
it
those
really,
4 pieces of property as well?
yes, so the entire project, it really focused on this portion of it. But yes, and I kind of mentioned before, we still need to go to the road commission to get final
Okay, because
approval on that.
that's the only concern that I have.
I agree.
That entrance, you know, trying to get out and busy highway like 12 Mile. There's only that 1 lane there. It's always a little difficulty. Traffic backs up many times on Inkster and 12 Mile going west. And these are on the north side of the street there. But just getting in and out of that property, those 4 pieces of property could be, problematic.
Yeah. No,
I'd like to see the traffic, what happens with the traffic study.
We'll work with staff and obviously work with the road commission. I mean, the only good news is they're just 4 homes, right? So that it's not like they're generating a lot of traffic, but
Right,
we will, that is something that still needs to be closed, that loop.
But, I really like the project. I like the exterior of the homes. This is something that I might consider myself, depending on the price, but, we've come a long way, baby. Yeah.
Yes, we have. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Well, you've heard a lot tonight, so I'm not going to take a lot of time. I'll take about 15 minutes and I'll be done. No, seriously, you've done a great job here. The only concern I have, and you're going to have engineering, you're going to have public safety look at, is the elimination of that second entrance. I think it could be possibly relocated, but I'll be very pleased to get the results, the input from police and fire, engineering, and even going back to planning commission too. That's all I have to say.
So I've been excited about this project since I walked the property with y'all back
Exactly,
in
I
the
know.
fall. And so I'm thrilled to see how far it's come. I think we're getting to a really good place. I have a couple of detail kind of questions.
Okay.
Okay, on the page that you're on right now, so this is perfect, I see a rendering of potential art. As part of the PUD, are we going to see a carve out, something specific in the contract that public art will be provided?
We will certainly provide public art. Now, the question is, what is that art going to look like? So,
You're welcome to decide.
yeah, so, yes. So I guess the point is, when we get to the PUD, we're going to have final engineering plans such that we'll have a lot more of that detail. So, yes, we'll come back with something more specific.
Okay, thank you. Question 2. Since Ms. Bolaware is thinking about moving into this development anyway, we know that one of her big issues is adult, for lack of a better term, play equipment, exercise equipment. Looks like there's a lot of green space where something like that would fit in. We'd sure love to see that in the PUD as a public benefit.
I can bring it to our group and discuss it, because I agree, and but back in my previous life, I know I'd worked on a project like that as well, so I'll certainly bring it to our group, and we can look at that for sure.
Thank you for advocating.
You're very welcome. So, okay, so Mr. City Manager, did you have anything you wanted to add before we looked for a motion?
I do, and thank you, Mayor. So Tim, great project. A couple of questions for you. And I think I might have asked Jim this before, but I'm not quite sure. The housing product that's being proposed here, is this similar to or identical to the product that y'all built? I think did you guys do the project up in Bloomfield Township at the old elementary school? Or
Yeah,
is
the
it-
old Hickory Grove Elementary,
Yes.
so it's on Loster, south of Square Lake. This is a smaller version of that. It's
Okay.
the same type of housing, it's smaller. Those are about 2,800 square feet. Those got into the $2 million range.
Okay.
But yes, it's very similar to that.
Okay, so 13 Mile Inkster Road one.
It's Bloomfield.
I'm sorry?
13 Mile Inkster Road one. Fairway, that's yours too?
Yes, that's actually the same product that we're building in Bloomfield. Though that's going a little slower for us, but we're getting there. First person moved in, so we're excited about that.
So if anybody's interested on council, that development is, I think you guys closed that out. It's been closed for a couple of years. It's a nice product, nice finishes, and I agree with you. I think they're going to be more towards a $750,000 once all the finishes and everything are added into.
Right.
So very nice. Last time we met, there were some permitting concerns. I think have we got any kind of resolution on the sewer permit application, that type of thing? Where are we with the Act 98 permit?
So we really don't submit that until we get, further along in final engineering, so we have not submitted anything as far as that. My hope is that the lift station is enough along that we can submit for that to Eagle. So I think we'll probably be okay from that timing, but yeah, we haven't got to that point yet of submitting for Act 41.
Okay, and then my understanding is we just got the traffic study today, Jacob, is that correct?
The revised one, yes.
Yeah, so we haven't had it, staff has not had a chance to look at the traffic study.
Correct.
And, look, we all want this property developed. It's been vacant for a long, long time. Tim's been doing a really good job. He's been extremely patient with myself and our staff. Yeah. And I'll buy you a beer after this too. So from a timing perspective, if there are some things that we need to go through as part of the engineering review, we're not impacting the timeline here per se, that I can tell. You've still got permit issues. We've got the PUD plan needs to be approved. We've got a PUD agreement that we have to negotiate. Those are all things that are yet to come. So it sounds like you either want to talk about eliminating a drive or relocating that drive to the north, right? I think that's the feel I'm getting from council. Staff's recommendation is we should have another public access, not an emergency access with the boulevard. I will say that when Karen and I first saw the comment about the boulevard, not having that there, and I understand it's an iconic piece, it's a very nice entrance to the subdivision or to the development. It's really because of geometrics. If you look at the drawing that he's got up on the screen, you'll notice that the outbound lane is lined up with the drive approach across the street, and the inbound lane is not. So it's kind of funky a little bit. So those are things that the traffic engineers tend to look at and make sure that that's an appropriate treatment here. So those are all the comments I have. If anybody has any questions of me, feel free.
So, Mr. Bridges.
I have a motion.
Okay. As you're preparing that motion, which I'm going to guess is going to be conditional approval, and we're looking at potential council action motions on page 63 of our packet, then I would love to see that motion include some things like we talked about here.
Yeah, that's why I want to get some clarity from the city manager, and maybe city attorney can help me as well. I'm going to read the motion, and then I want you to give me the gist of what the city manager spoke about. It need to be included in that motion. Is that possible? The city attorney. The city manager mentioned specific things regarding public access. So
Yeah, yes, you can do that to make it simple, but what you should do is have Mr. Makjian restate that for you and say, I'm including what he just said in my motion as part of the conditions and.
So do I need to yield back to Mr. City Manager, to reiterate his statement regarding that?
Of what he would like to see as specific.
I can do that. I got people doing that.
So
Love to, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Mayor.
Yeah, love to hear Mr. Bridges' motion.
So if you recall at the last city council meeting, we had a similar situation with the Schaefer property where council, I think we left the public hearing open.
I closed it.
We did close it. Okay, so Steph, you're pinch hitting tonight for Steve. So, this is essentially the same type of a situation. There are some changes that the developer would like to evaluate with staff, right? And that's going to take some time.
Okay.
So from my perspective, I think city council's options are you either approve the plan as presented this evening, you deny it as presented this evening, or you postpone it till a date certain for them to come back with the modifications that we're discussing.
So your recommendation is, you don't have a hard, fast one, though, regarding this, basically approval or postponement?
My suggestion to city council can do what it pleases, but my suggestion is I would appreciate the grace. Look, there's a lot of lead time on the permitting here. This is not a time-sensitive issue.
All right, so this look like a motion for postponement is in order here, in order to allow for the additional time to take place.
That's what we would appreciate.
All right. Okay, let me go ahead and, do it.
Before you make the motion?
Okay, go ahead.
Please, Ms. Knoll.
So we have given you, hopefully what you need tonight as far as direction. Let me ask you this. If we were to propose it, how would that impact you, and when would you want us to what would you propose that we move it to? If we do 2 weeks to our next meeting, is that sufficient time? I mean, I want to hear from him also on, you're asking for grace for the city. I want to ask the same thing of him, because I want to make sure that we're not impacting you and that the answers we gave to you tonight are enough that you can continue to move forward.
We really have no interest in postponement, to be honest. We want to move forward. So, and I appreciate what Mr. Mekchan's saying, and we work very well together. So what I would appreciate is an approval with conditions that we work through staff, because I think we can get to a resolution. It sounds like there's some consensus on removing that if that driveway, if staff is satisfied with, say, the traffic study and some of the engineering items that we can discuss in the meantime. So I would prefer that for certain. Don't want to come back. I want to keep moving with the project because it's been many, many years.
Okay, we have a question, and then back to Mr. Bridges.
Thank you. For the city City Attorney,
There you go.
I just want to make sure that everybody's clear on this. This is just to approve the PUD. This isn't right now negotiating everything that's going to be in the final site plan.
Right.
This is,
PUD amendment.
this is just to approve the PUD so they can go forward with all the engineering studies, working with staff, getting everything maybe in there that they hear tonight. And we're not holding them fast to all of these criteria right now.
Well,
It's just a kind of a broad umbrella of, here's our concerns, we want to approve the PUD, send them on their way to start the engineering process, and then they're going to come back with a final site plan at some point. And maybe even before that, we'll have more input into what we see and what we'd like.
I think if you try to approve this right now with a whole bunch of conditions, that the only thing you're going to end up doing is delaying the project
Right.
even more.
Right.
I would suggest that you postpone it to a date certain. Get all the issues worked out so staff can take a look at the engineering, so you have a plan that looks like what you're actually approving. Because what you have in front of you right now is not what the proponent is asking you to approve. I think it makes it very difficult for staff if you're going to place all the emphasis on staff giving administrative approvals and we don't know what the end plan is going to look like. They're talking about closing an entrance. That's not what this plan shows. Get the right drawings in front of council, get the approvals that you need, and then have that plan brought back, and then there'll be less confusion on behalf of staff. There'll be less for my office to do because we won't be trying to figure out what was intended or what was meant, or negotiating with the property owner to make sure that everybody's happy and we don't end up in another form that we don't want to be in. So again, as the city manager suggested, you really have 3 options that our office would recommend. It's either an approval, a denial, or a postponement.
Are you making a motion, or may I ask a question of Charmaine?
You can ask me a question first.
So, Ms. Kettler-Schmidt, what would your point of view be if we were to do a postponement to a date certain? To when would you think that would be? Are we talking next meeting? Are we talking our first meeting in March, second meeting in March?
Most of the issues that we have that have been discussed this evening are things that are within public services and the engineering purview, more so than the planning and zoning code regulations. So I would ask the public services director what time frame he feels would be appropriate for that. And while he's getting his thoughts together, I did want to just clarify that because this process is moving through with a PUD and site plan concurrently, I think that's where the disconnect is between a PUD concept plan, where you have a site plan that comes back at a later date, versus one that has the site plan attached to the PUD approval, which is what we have in this particular request.
So it's not a two-step process?
It's not a two-step process, and that's the way that it was originally brought forward. It is at the applicant's request how they want to move forward with it. This has been through a couple of different versions, so it's not necessarily the current applicant's process that they created, but it is where we are with the PUD and site plan concurrently, rather than one that's an overall concept plan, and the Planning Commission reviews the site plan more detailed at a later time.
Okay, so let's hear the point of view of postpone till when, please?
How much time do you need? 6 weeks.
Good evening, Jacob Rushlow, DPS Director. So with the topic of really the biggest thing we have to look at, a lot of little details with the developer that are not a major concern we can work through. The biggest impact is going to be the traffic impact study that was just received today. So that's our critical timeline to get a review done, comments sent back to their team, revised, resubmitted, if there are comments that need to be addressed. We haven't even opened that up yet. We just received it this afternoon. I don't know what it looks like, what's in it. So if we were asked today on a date certain to postpone, I would say the March 3rd meeting would probably be a good bet for us to give us about a month to get through that process with the traffic impact study review.
Thank you. Mr. Bridges, did you want to make a motion?
Yes, I do.
All right, thank you.
Madam Mayor, I resolve that the applicant to amend the PUD Plan 2, 2021, including, I'm sorry, I'm at the wrong one. Let's see here. Where is that? First, second
Bottom
one.
of page 64.
60, oh, I got it right here. I resolve that the applicant to amend the PUD Plan 2, 2021, including revised site plan 59-5, 2022, dated October 17, 2024, and November 4, 2024, respectively, submitted by Robertson Brother Homes is postponed to a date certain of March 3rd, and that will be the motion, Madam Mayor. City Attorney, does that suffice in regards to postponement? What should be the part of that postponement?
Yes, because you've postponed it to a date certain.
Yes, March 3rd.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there support? Okay, we have a motion and support.
Date, did you say?
March 3rd.
March 3rd.
Is that that's not our next meeting?
No, it's in 2 weeks. It's 2 meetings from now.
So it'll be the 14th to 10th then, right?
No, it would be the 3rd because we moved the 10th meeting to the
Oh,
3rd.
okay. Okay, just double checking.
Yep, okay.
Okay.
So, that being the case, this would be a regular vote. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, same sign. That carries. We look forward to seeing you. We are so close.
Yes.
And thank you for sticking with us.
Yep. Thank you, sir.
Okay, this then takes us to new business. Item 7, consideration of approval to increase the city manager's purchase approval threshold to $24,999 and require city council approval for purchases of $25,000 or more. We discussed this at length in a study session. Good evening.
Good evening. Michelle Aronowski, Director of Central Services. I'm going to briefly discuss thresholds, where we have been and where I would like to go. February 28th, 2000, City Council authorized the increase of sealed bids from $3,000 to $10,000. This process authorized City Council to approve all purchases over $10,000. Last month, during a study session, we discussed the need to reassess the purchasing approval threshold to align with the current operational needs, inflationary factors, and efficiency in procurement processes. Based on this discussion, purchasing proposes adjusting the approval threshold while maintaining the current sealed bid requirement. The city manager approves purchases up to $24,999. The city council approves purchases over $25,000. This adjustment would not only better reflect current economic conditions, but also streamline operations by reducing the number of routine purchases requiring additional approval. This efficiency gained will allow the city manager to address procurement needs more promptly without compromising accountability or transparency. Included in the packet is the updated purchasing policies, along with additional municipalities and their thresholds you requested from the study session. And this includes my short presentation, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Thank you. Council, what's your pleasure?
Quick question.
Yes, sir.
Michelle, thank you for your presentation. Will the city manager review this, go through the same bidding process that normally goes through in regards to these bids that you approve through your bidding process, or is it different?
We would still go out to bid for anything over $10,000. And then if something, for example, is the respondents is rewarded at, let's say, $18,000, he would be able to approve that purchase order without going to city council.
But you would expect him to review all bids, right?
Yes.
All bids, and make a decision based on our policy in regards to a bidding process, right?
We would recommend approval.
All right.
Just like we would normally do with you, with city council.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Mr. Eldred.
With the motion?
Please.
So I move to approve the proposed request to increase the city manager's purchase approval threshold up to $24,999 and require city council's approval for purchases of $25,000 or more.
Support. We have a motion and support by Ms. Bolaware. This is a regular vote. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Number 8.
Thank you.
Thank you. Consideration of approval of appointments to various boards and commissions. And I see that our Commission on Aging people are still here, so you're about to hopefully get a new commissioner. Who would like to read this, please? Is there a motion?
Val said she read it.
Okay.
It's not that long.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to appoint Erica Johnson for a length of 3 terms, sorry, for a length of term of 3 years to the Beautification Commission. And also, I would like to make, in that recommendation, would be Christina Moy to the Farmington Area Commission on Aging for a length of term of 3 years. Also, I'd like to, in that motion, recommend Erica Blasque for the Commission on Community Health for a length of term of 3 years. Also, I'd like to recommend Kyla Dixon for the Emergency Preparedness Commission for a length of term of 3 years. And finally, to the Water Systems Advisory Council, I'd like to make a motion, included in this motion, the appointment of Debbie Brower for a length of term of 3 years, and Katrina Kennedy, also for a length of term of 3 years.
Okay. This is a motion. Do we have support?
Support.
Moved and supported. This is a regular vote. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Same sign. Thank you. We have no additions to the agenda. We have a couple of 4 cards that have been brought forward.
Unfinished business.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Finished business.
Yes, yeah, we definitely want this one because we already have 6 applicants for this. Unfinished business, consideration of approval of enactment of an ordinance to add a new board and commission. Mr. Aldred?
Just looking for it. Do you have it?
Motion.
I will make a motion. I will make a motion to approve the enactment of ordinance C1 2025 to amend the Farmington Hills Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 4, Boards and Commissions and Councils, to add Division 12, Innovation, Energy and Environmental Sustainability Commission, to provide for the establishment of said commission and its authority, purposes, duties and membership, and summary for publication.
Support.
Moved and supported. This is a roll call vote.
Council members Bridges,
Yes.
Bruce,
Yes.
Dwyer,
Yes.
Knoll,
Yes.
Aldred,
Yes.
Bolaware,
Yes.
and Mayor Rich.
Yes.
Thank you.
All righty, and as I said, we've already got 6 people or so who have submitted applications for this one. Now, we are going to public comment. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes. Thank you for filling out blue cards. I have 4 of them in front of me. The first one is Pamela Santo, to be followed by Lisa Goldstein. Pamela Santo still here. Evening. And we'll start your clock.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here.
I, months ago, made a petition, live on Moran Street, in regards to the Tawhid Center. They submitted plans to build almost a 30,000 square foot facility, zoned residential, and demolished the house next to me. My property, the depth of it is 350 feet. Along the 350 feet are going to be cars for parking. And parking all along Moran, which comes right up to my property too. The neighborhood is so upset. There's no sidewalks. They had an original entrance and exit onto Moran. It's a residential street people walking their little animals, kids going back and forth to school, the whole bit. It's a neighborhood. Thing is, they can't even get cars exited out of the facility onto Orchard Lake. It's bumper to bumper at various times. It affects both sides of the 10 mile, close to the intersection at 10 and Middlebelt. It's caused a traffic problem there and accidents. As a property owner with what was on the plans of 7 pole lights, almost all of the surrounding areas, about 300 and some cars coming into that area, and 100 of them coming down my property line, and my house is 16 feet from the property line. So the bright lights, the sound, the pollution of the air, and it's just not me, which I'm really upset about. I'm 81 years old. I was born with asthma. I have trouble breathing anyhow. I just went to the doctors for my yearly checkup, and I told her what's happening, and I brought in a letter and gave it to the planning department. Excuse me. I gave her the professional letter that I got from my doctor. She couldn't believe it. But now with these people coming in, and if they're allowed to demolish this, when they built the facility in the first place, I came out into my garage and there was a rat. I go, oh my goodness, where did that come from? Went and bought a half a dozen rat traps.
Thank you.
Caught 4 rat traps, wondering where they're coming from. I went over their dumpster at the Tawheed Center, was overfilled with garbage bags all around. With these new situation coming in, they're gonna bring rodents in. It's gonna be another thing. But
Santo?
Yes?
That's time for tonight.
Oh, okay.
And so,
I would like to say I thank you so much for listening.
Sure.
But when we were allowed a meeting that we came to, and it was designated that we would be able to speak on 11425. When we came in, the Tawheed Center was sitting here. They walked up to these people, went over the microphone, talked to them, boom, 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 and then they walked out and they said, the meeting is postponed. You can't be heard. There were 13 of us. Why did we come up here if we couldn't be heard? And you know what? I just came tonight to express myself. They know I was coming, but there's another meeting coming up. Are we going to be heard with all these people? One, it's an endangerment and an invasion.
thank you, Ms. Santo.
I hope that you can do something about it.
Thank you.
And also, I've been threatened on my property, and I don't like it. And it's by the wrong people.
So, Ms. Santo, if you are threatened, please
Pardon?
Could we, Ms. Mandora, could you talk to her about threats? Thank you. That's not.
Thank you kindly, I appreciate it. Have a good evening.
You too.
And I've been going to the Caustic Center for 12 years. If it wasn't for the Caustic Center, I wouldn't be able to move, go, and do. And so come on over. The only thing, the men might not want to wear Speedos, and the women might not want to wear their bikinis.
Thank you. Oh, my. Ms. Goldstein, please, followed by Linda Pawlowski.
Something like that.
Hi, my name's Lisa Goldstein. I just wanted to speak about the City of Farmington Hills facilities use policy for political activity, particularly related to signature gathering for petitions. So Lynn Pawlowski and I did meet with Mayor Rich at the Hawk in November and raised an issue about this because we've been involved with numerous nonpartisan signature gathering activities for ballot initiatives. And in 2020, we had done this in 2018 successfully. directly in Farmington Hills at many locations in the city, but in 2022 were unable to do so, and learned through the process that the city had enacted a facilities use policy that basically did not allow for any kind of signature gathering on any of city properties like the recreation centers. It was very limited at Heritage Park, only on trails, not near the events. And so we raised this as an issue because we felt like it was really limiting political free speech and our ability to participate as citizens, and limiting access of citizens of Farmington Hills to participate in the political process. So we really appreciate that the council talked about this in study sessions. There are some revisions being considered, and we do appreciate the revision being considered at Heritage Park to allow a designated area in the park near the amphitheater for signature gathering. But we are also would like to support the council members who at the study session said, this needs to be broader. It is not enough to do that. And other cities like Livonia and Troy do allow signature gathering at community centers, and it doesn't seem to be an issue there. So we feel like the city should consider some broader policies to allow that at the Hawk and Caustic Center. It's done at other cities, and it doesn't seem to be creating issues. So we'd like that consideration of a broader revision to the policy. Thank you.
Linda Pawlowski, to be followed by Pat Hansen.
Lynn Pulaski, Farmington Hills, South Stockton Street. I reiterate everything that Lisa just said. I did have the privilege of sitting in on the study session. Thank you so much for considering the signature gathering in the city of Farmington Hills. Of course, we would never go into any event like the Heritage Park concerts. Talking about a designated area for us to stand, I have a little concern because I did not have access to the map that you all were looking at. But in my head, I'm picturing like a 12 by 12 space where we can only stand and we can't move about. And I'm hoping that we have a little bit more freedom than that. And I'm also hoping that this issue will not be unnecessarily complicated. So many other cities allow signature gathering. It isn't a big issue. And I would just like to say that, this is Livonia's policy, and I'll end with that. It is prohibited to gather petition signatures or distribute literature inside any recreation facility unless previously authorized by the department. The department will allow reasonable signature gathering outside the facilities as long as areas of entrance and exit are not blocked, no harassment, intimidation of people, or general disruption of a person's normal conduct to utilize the facility is done. It seems so simple, and I think that we should be able to enact something similar in Farmington Hills across all the facilities. I appreciate your time and listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Pat Hansen is no longer here. This left? Okay. All right, then that takes us to our city attorney report.
Thank you for having me. I'm sure Steve would have loved to have been here, but you got me instead, so it's been
Thank you for being here, Ms.
lovely.
Marita. Any report for us this evening? We did receive our packet. Okay. Yep, we're good. Okay, well, with that, being no further business to come before us this evening, we are adjourned. Our next meeting is going to be February 24th, and we look forward to seeing you then.